Okay, hello everybody. I'm Nicholas from the CAV, and this is part of our continuing little series on our online activities to see what interests people over the next few months. With us today, we have Dr. Eliza, who will talk to us about traditional Chinese medicine. And I just want to remind you there are two sessions. There's one session today and one session later on, which you have to check the calendar, where Dr. Chan will talk to us about acupressure, which is what I'm really interested in as well. So without further ado, I'll pass you to Eliza. Eliza, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas, for the introduction. So we'll be talking about some Chinese medicine herbal soup today. But before that, just because some of you might not know me personally or know me from my clinic. So just background information from me. So I'm practicing in Clayton and Doncaster locations, and I have overseas experience in Nanjing, China, and also Tsuji Hospital in Taipei. These two hospitals are Chinese medicine and Western medicine hospital, whereby we combine treatment to the patients so they able to get complementary care from the doctors. And the voluntary experience is locally in St. Kilda. It's called Windana Alcohol and Drug Recovery Center. They have a lot of people coming in with addictions, and we can use acupuncture to help them. And also I have some family influence in the medical field. My father is a dermatologist, and my mother's side, the great-grandfather, he was a owner of a herbal dispensary in Hangzhou. And this year I have a new goal, is to talk and introduce more people to Chinese medicine way of life. And by sharing knowledge and experience on social media, I want to empower people to self-care, because that can prevent diseases. So other than the background information, I just list down the other trainings we do to continuous train as a health professional. And then my clinical focus on the right bottom. These are the sort of diseases I see more common in my clinic. And these are my focus at the moment. So let's go to the next slide. And also, if you have any questions during this talk, please feel free to just put up your hand, or like put your questions in the chat box. So if I can answer it straight away, I'll try to do that. But if the answer is too long, maybe we do it at the end, because hopefully I leave some time for part 4 Q&A. And Nicholas also can stop me if I talk too fast. And so part 1, I'm going to talk about the common diseases we see during July to September this year. I know some of you can read Chinese, so this is a chart taken out from a 五运六气 book. So theory of 5 circuits and 6 qi is a theory and or say an ancient study that between climate changes and the human diseases. So in this chart, we can see from the 21st of May up to the 23rd of September, 湿土 is damp in Chinese medicine, in Chinese word, and 湿土 here again. So we use this school of knowledge to enhance our clinical effectiveness, in that we focus on treating the damp and spleen, because it is a commonly seen disease in this period of time. So we need to focus treating this spleen system to increase the effectiveness of our treatment. This theory is hard to explain, but just don't worry about this diagram if you don't understand it. It just gives you a background, like how we treat patients, and there are so many different schools of thoughts. So one practitioner may use this theory, but the other practitioner might have other theory they use. So let's talk about damp. Some common damp symptoms and signs we can see in the patient. They usually accumulated in the body due to the lifestyle choices. For example, a lot of times it's coming from bad diet. A bad diet can consist of having too much cold or raw food. Things are hard to digest, or greasy diet, or too much sugar. So for the spleen and stomach, it's too much work to do, and slowly the damp accumulated as a result. And also, less commonly, we see patients living in damp environment that they got damp symptoms. And also lack of exercise can contribute to damp as well. So in this diagram, I've separated them to two different presentations, because some people can be coming in with more damp heat, and some people have damp cold symptoms. And at least some of these symptoms you can see if you look at your tongue first thing in the morning before you brush your tongue coating. You can see for the damp heat tongue, you will have more of a thick yellowish tongue coating, and you usually feel that your mouth is a bit dry, and some people will have bad breath, but you don't need to satisfy all these symptoms and signs to be considered as a damp heat person. And the same, likewise, you don't need to satisfy all the symptoms on the left to be considered damp cold. But in the middle is a commonly seen symptoms in patients, like they usually feel tired, or they have rashes on their body. They feel foggy and they forgetful even, and joint pain are the damp sort of symptoms we see in the clinic. So I start this damp cold session because in wintertime, it's more likely to see all the left side in some of the elderly clients, or people that prefer cold food and they don't, or they have some chronic illness. They usually come up with the damp cold symptoms more. But this is just for your information, for you to sort of diagnose yourself where you are at the moment in the dampness department. So let's go to the next slide. So other than spleen, in winter time, because winter is associated with the water element, in Chinese medicine we have 5 elements, and the water element is linked to our kidney. And the kidney system in Chinese medicine is important for the water metabolism in the body. So it's the kidney in Chinese medicine is not only the kidney organs, it's a system that governs our bone health, our lower back issue. So people, if they have arthritis in the lower back, is linked to the kidney. And knees, any weakness in the knees, any injuries to the knees, and also it affect the kidney system. And hearing issue can be a sudden loss of hearing or some tinnitus. And then urinary system, gynecological issue. For example, some people are having some menopausal symptoms. It's linked to the kidney yin as well, and the memory, because kidney is also governing our brain. So how can we damage our kidney? So if we sit for or stand for too long, from working in front of the computer, not moving, or standing, like as a cashier, you stand all the time, it's damaging our kidney. Lack of sleep or sleeping too late, overwork, indulgence in sex, because the overall reserves in our body is associated with kidney, and it starts to decline due to our natural aging process. So in Chinese medicine, women, we start to age after about 35 years old, and men only after 49 years old. So we start to see all these kidney symptoms usually after this age. And so eventually our body will be more prone to kidney deficiency as we age. So it's important to start early and do some self-care using herbal medicine or acupressure. So this seminar is devoted to herbal medicine. So I'm also going to briefly talk about the Chinese medicine clock. I do talk about this, share this with my patient a lot, especially the gallbladder time, because nowadays a lot of people sleeping very late. And I was surprised. Sometimes I receive message like at midnight or after midnight, and I wonder what everyone is doing this late for. And because 11 to 1 o'clock at night is in charge by the gallbladder. So gallbladder is working as an optimal state. So when gallbladder is in charge, your mind starts to plan things and you feel like you have a surge of energy, but this is because of the gallbladder coming into play. It's not because you actually have the energy. So it's actually wise to sleep about 10 or 10:30 so that you can get a restful sleep throughout the gallbladder period, because it's a time for detoxing in Chinese medicine where you should sleep and you have the cellular repair and your skin will feel better in the morning if you sleep in deep sleep this time. And if some people sleeping at 3 or 4 o'clock, which some of my patients initially come in, I was very surprised. They have been sleeping at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. around this time for many years. But liver times is another time for detoxing of blood. And it's also very important for rest and recovery during this time, because a lot of, like say, our skin color, if it appears a bit yellowish, it's because they don't have enough rest during this 11 to 3 a.m. o'clock. So yeah, I just have to stress, especially in this winter, we can maybe start by sleeping a bit earlier so that we can, our body can heal a bit faster. Also, because we talk about spleen is an important thing that we need to treat. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock is our spleen time, and spleen is in charge of thinking. So a lot of times people start at work around 9 because we are sharp at this time, and we can think very, very clearly if we follow this Chinese medicine clock. And this is also the time that we can digest the food very well. So it's good to have a breakfast from 7 to 9 so that the spleen and stomach can digest properly. So you can maybe take a screenshot if you're interested in this Chinese medicine clock, or at the end, I'll gather your feedback and then I can email this PDF to you at the end. So you don't need to worry about taking notes during this session. You just enjoy, sit back and relax. So we just go to the most important part of this session, which is the herbal soup for well-being. And I will also select a few herbs to talk more in depth. So yeah, without further ado, I start with one very popular soup that we see in Taiwan. In Taiwan, near my home place, we have this night market, and this is a shop that is always overflowing with clients and with people coming in to have this soup. And this soup is good to have during winter. Let me explain a little bit why. It consists of 4 major things. And it was first recorded in the Qing dynasty when Qianlong, the emperor, he was the emperor that likes to go down south to have a look at what's happening in his kingdom, so to speak. And during that time, he felt very tired, and the people that's come with him prepared this soup for him somehow, and this soup helped him to relieve the lethargic sensation that he's able to feel the energy to go on the lives again. It was something that was recorded in the history, but we don't know where he actually had this soup. And so the actual function of this soup is to tonify our spleen and stomach, so helps the digestion and remove any dampness in the body. And this formula is good because it's children safe, and it's good for low appetite. If you have loose bowels, tiredness, like the emperor did, indigestion or edema anywhere in the body, usually the lower parts of the body, strengthen immunity system after immune system after radiotherapy or chemotherapy, and because it's very mild and it doesn't create heat in the body, and also help with damp-related rashes. Although it's not the cure for it, it helps to reduce the dampness. And also for high blood sugar patients, some of the practitioners would recommend them to substitute this use this as a source of the carbohydrate intake instead of the rice, because sometimes the white rice is can easily convert to sugar, which is not good for the diabetes patient. So let's go in a little bit more about this soup. Maybe you have this already. I'm sorry for those already familiar with this soup. So the ingredients are 莲子, and then 山药, and 茯神, and 芡实. So these are the 4 main herbs that were recorded in the ancient texts. But in the modified version in Taiwan, many shops, they add 一人, 20 grams. It's a guide. You can sort of figure out what sort of volume you want to get from the soup. But this one can cook for a family. And then you can add the pork stomach. Some of the shop use the pork small intestine. And in my household, we use lean pork, and with 1 liter of water or more if you want like a lighter taste. So importantly, with Chinese herbal soup, you usually have to soak the herbs for 10 to 20 minutes. So in order to get out the goodness in the herbs, and you put and help it to soften during the cooking, and put all the ingredients in a glass or clay pot, because we don't want to put it in any metal pot because it may interact with the metal. And we boil the water and then simmer it for at least 20 minutes. You can simmer it for longer to make so that everything becomes soft to taste, and you can add the salt or rice wine to make the taste better. So in Taiwan, I think some of them use dangui restaurant where they leave the herbs dangui in the rice wine for a while so that the rice wine actually tasted dangui. So it's you can actually play with these 4 ingredients first, but by itself it doesn't taste that nice. That's why the modified version appear. So any questions so far, please put it in the chat box, because I might not be able to see everyone's screen, because I have the slide in front of me and the screen is, I don't have 2 screens in front of me.
Eliza, when you say soak the herbs for 20 minutes,
yeah,
is it soak and then you throw away the water, or you soak it in the soup you're going to make?
Yeah, I usually just use the soaking water because usually nowadays in Melbourne, the herbal shop, the herbs come in very clean. It used if I were in Nanjing, the herbs would be a bit comes in with some dirt and earth. You need to actually clean it and filter the water out. But you can look at the herbs and see if it's dirty, you definitely need to filter the water out. But from my experience in Melbourne, there's no problem. I just use the water and no dirt or soil or things like that.
So in this particular case, you just throw everything into the glass pot and wait 20 minutes and then start cooking.
Yeah, you can do that. Or some people leave it overnight, even like they well prepare and then they put it the night before so they can drink it. You know, some people drink this for breakfast, but I think this one is safe to drink throughout the day. Just one, I guess, side effect is if the person is a little bit constipated, 芡实, they might want to reduce the amount of 芡实, these herbs, start with Q, because it might make, because it helps people with loose stool, right? We talk about how it helps the removal of the damp. So with people who has constipation, it might make it a little bit worse, but because this one is a relatively mild formula, so don't worry about it. But if you think this herbs might cause trouble, you can reduce the dosage or take it out. Yeah.
Eliza, where's the best place to buy these herbs?
Where is the best place? Depends on where you live, because there's so many different herbal shop at the moment. There's Fox Hill, there's Springvale, and depends on where you live. They're also distributor in the Kensington, like the west area or Footscray. Yeah, and all the herbal medicine, they usually come from either Hong Kong or China. So yeah, if you are interested and you don't know where to get, you want the exact location, maybe you can leave me your email or your contact details. So yeah, and your suburbs, so I can find out the address for you, because I can't think of the name of the shop at the top
Eliza,
of my head.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them from you after the meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I'll publish it for the rest of the people who are interested.
Okay, yeah, sure. Because it's important to get at good shop, because sometimes I will talk about this at later slide, because recently I learned that there are people who is dispensing without license. That is a concern for me. I don't know where they are, but I know in Melbourne there are a few so-called doctors and practitioners are practicing maybe from home without license. And the thing is that if you purchase stock from them, you are not covered by the professional indemnity insurance. So that means if you are poisoned or you feel ill, you're not being properly insured. So it's a risk that you have to take. But of course, I know these people may be charging a cheaper rate because they don't need to pay for registration fee, and they are not regulated under APRA. They don't need to take courses to update their knowledge. So it's, of course, they have a lower cost to run their business. So it's important to check where you get the herbs. So yeah, just be careful, because I heard dodgy things. And there was one case that I heard is more of an acupuncture incident where the doctor didn't have the license, and when the patient had a bad reaction where it was a cosmetic thing that wasn't allowed to be done in here, which is 埋线, where the needle was left in the skin for too long and caused like inflammation and things. and the patient wanted to sue the doctor, but the doctor went back to the country and they couldn't be found. So it's not safe to, just keep in mind. Okay, and then, so because I don't want to just talk about the recipe, because you can actually easily find this recipe online or from the library. There's a lot of books on the soup. So I want to explain a little bit about the reason why we use certain soup and the basic property of Chinese herbal medicine, why we combine this soup with this herb with the other. So for the herbs, they are actually 4 qi and 5 flavors. So 4 qis, you can also categorize food into these 4 qi. So they are cold, hot, warm, and cool. So usually if the herbs is bitter taste, it's usually cold in nature. And there are also 5 flavors in the herbs. They are pungent, sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. And I do a 5-element diagram. You may be interested to know, because if you eat, so for example, if you have a weak spleen, we should increase like yellowish or earthy color foods such as the sweet potato, pumpkin, like the shanyao, Chinese yam we talk about, and millets is like the xiaomi zhou, because it helps to replenish your spleen energy. And the 5 elements, they work together in such a way that if you tonify your spleen, you're gonna help your lung as well. So if you tonify your lung, and it might also help the kidney. So they have this relationship. Of course, they have other interactions, but this is the basic background knowledge, so that you know in Chinese medicine, different color of the herbs actually can target different organs in our body. And we go into a deeper level. This one, you don't have to understand all of them, but just give you background knowledge, so all the herbs we use, they have a direction. So for jiegen is a herb we commonly use when people have a throat coughing issues, because these herbs is ascending herb, so it helps to bring all the other soup mix to your throat to help to tonify the area. And ginger is a herb that we use for descending function, because of course it has also other function, but ginger we use a lot for acid reflux or nauseous patients. So because it has a descending function, when you have a stomach energy going up, it helps to bring it down. And guizhi is another common herb we use if person have like a sweating issue. It helps to bring the sweat to the surface. If a patient have fever, we also try to use guizhi tang, which is a formula that has guizhi in it. So it helps to bring the sweat to the surface and help to bring the heat out from the body. And sinking function herbs, the example is the oyster shell, because it's heavy. Usually the heavier herbs or the seeds helps to bring the energy and qi and sinking down. And processed herbs can also change the herbal direction. So this, depending on the dispensary you go to, some of them provide this service and give you herbs that is processed. So for example, if you use wine to fry your herbs, it helps the herbs to ascend. And if you use vinegar, it helps to astringe. And salt fry, it helps to bring the herbs to your kidney. And also herbs, all the herbs have targeted meridians that we talk about. They can go to the organs. So common use herbs, lotus seed, it goes to our heart, kidney, and spleen. And we also need to be aware of the toxicity of the herbs. We can usually, in a lot of herbal mix, we have ganzhao liquors in it, because it can help to reduce the toxicity of other herbs and help them to harmonize with each other. And also you can process some herbs to reduce toxicity. We can talk about it in part 3. And then interaction with Western medicine is some, when we prescribe medication to our patient, we usually ask the patient to take their decoction herbs 2 hours away from the Western medicine, so it doesn't interact with the things, the components. But we have to be cautionary to some of the patients who are taking chronic medications such as warfarin, because it's a blood thinning herb, so we cannot use too much blood thinning Chinese medicine. And for those with autoimmune diseases, we have to also avoid too much of an immunity booster, because they might exacerbate or worsen their symptoms. And there's also herbs that we should not be using during pregnancy. So we usually avoid strong blood moving herbs. And for obvious reason, we don't want to use the strong discerning herbs. And another thing I want to say is that ginseng is a good tonic for elderly patients, but it's not good for pregnancy women, because fetus or if they are breastfeeding women, it's not good for the baby, because it's very heaty herbs. We talk about the properties of the herbs, and because fetus and baby, they are young in nature, too much heat can causing problem in later on in their lives. So it may make them, they have a very tend to quick to anger, and they may have symptoms such as early puberty, and that is very commonly seen in Nanjing Hospital, because a lot of parents and grandparents, they are they put all their love into their grandchildren. Even before they were born, they give a lot of tonics to the pregnant woman, but they have no idea that might affect the actual development of their grandchildren. Is too much tonic. So we have to be careful with the herbal medicine during this period of time. And also with children, we need to reduce herbs dosage or avoid certain herbs because it's too heaty for them. So because I talk about all these properties of the herbs, and I know some of you are very interested in herbs and you want to learn yourself, and you are afraid maybe not combining the right herbal mix for your soup. And so there are a few things I listed if you are interested. The first one, Medline Plus, is a site that been identified by the Sydney Chinese Medicine Department as a tier 1 information source. So if you click on it, we can try this one. You can see astragalus is a herb that I'm going to talk about individually. And you can see a picture of the plant, the common name, the background, and all these safety things that you need to be aware of. So this is one thing you can use. Go back to the slide. And then we can also try this one. Okay, it's not listening to me. We can try this link later, or you can have a look yourself, because they are, the second and third database is organized by actual Chinese medicine practitioners in the US. They are actually updated by Chinese medicine practitioners. So they're going to talk about functions and where the herbs going to, what sort of organs they're targeting at. So it give you a really basic understanding of the herbs that you have in your cupboard. And so it gives you, when you know more, it empowers you to be more creative with your herbal soup base. And there's another book, if you're interested in medicine theory, Chinese medicine, there's an English book that's written by another practitioner in the West. So it's called The Web That Has No River. It's a beginner's book, and it's written in a very easily understand language. It's not like a Chinese ancient text away. So it's very easy to understand the theory if you are interested. And also, if you understand Chinese or you can download this free app called 大家中医. You just key in these 4 words in the Apple Store. You're able to find it. It's free for download, and they have listed all the acupressure point as well as the herbal medicine, as the individual herbs as well as formulas. So if you want to know more, this is also a good resource thing you can try.
Eliza, how long do these herbs last?
Usually the herbs, if you keep it in the fridge, you can keep it for very long. And in the herbal shop, they say you can do it for 2 years. So if you keep it well and tied in an airtight bottle, without any sort of a contact to the air. And for some of the herbs, because it's sweet, like if it's a honey-coated licorice that I'm going to discuss in this slide, you will need to put it in the fridge because it's sweet and it might attract ants and things to it. So does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure. Just remind me if the time is up or something. Gan Cao Ganjiang Tang is a good formula in winter season. This formula was first recorded in Eastern Han Dynasty by the very famous Zhang Zhongjing. All of the practitioners will follow his style, and it's Shanghan Zabing Luan. You can find this book interpretation and translation into many different languages by practitioners all over the world. And this formula only consists of 2 herbs. It's the grinded 炙甘草, it's a honey-coated 甘草 and 干姜. So we use 1:1 ratio or 2:1 ratio if you feel the 干姜 is too much for you, the taste is too much for you, because it's a bit spicy taste. And you save this into a glass jar, and when you want to take it, you just take out 3 or 4 grams and put it in a cup and mix it with hot water and drink it in the morning. This can help to tonify your body so that you are sort of give you a shield from the viruses. And this was quite popular last year when the COVID came. A lot of practitioners are when patients are me, I think this is something you can do to protect yourself. Of course, it's not like bulletproof, but it's something that helps to make your body a bit warmer as well. So let's talk about 炙甘草. It's sweet in nature. It can go to the spleen and tonify qi. Sorry, and then ganjiang, the taste is pungent and warm, so it can boost the energy if you feel tired and strengthen our metabolism. And these 2 herbs in combination can warm our lung and spleen and dispel the cold, which is perfect to prevent the cold and flu in wintertime. And also it's famous for people who drools easily when they sleep, or leaking urine during coughing or sneezing. If you look at the 5 elements diagram we showed you before, the 5 circles, when we warm the lung, you can also help the next organ, which is the kidney. So this is very good herbs. That's why when you cough, when the leaking urine, when we use the ganjiang, it can help the actual urinary kidney diseases. So I can show you, I just got it myself. I show you some of my patients before that I got this made myself. So just grind these 2 herbs and put it in a glass jar, and you can have it when you feel like you need it. or you can drink it rigorously every day, should be okay. But don't drink it at nighttime because, as we say, ganjiang boosts your energy. It might affect your sleep. Yeah. Okay. And next one I quite like because nowadays a lot of patients ask me about bird nests. But I think bird nets maybe is not very nice to the animals because, and also it's very costly if you want to drink it on a regular basis. So this is a very good substitute formula if you like to have more collagen in your body and anti-aging soup. So all the ingredients I've listed here, and just importantly for the first, taojiao is actually this orange color things. When you buy it, it's very dry form, and because it's coming off from the tree bark, there may be impurities inside the herb. So you need to soak it for a while. And once you soak it, it expands. So you don't use a lot, maybe 2 pieces or 3 at most, because it expands to a very large size and you will see the impurities. You just take it out, it's very easy. And you add also these other herbs, 雪莲子, 白木耳. 白木耳 you also need to soak in the water so that you have to remove some yellow. I think if you cook, you need to remove so it's a white fungus. Maybe it's not so clear, but it's sort of like this one in the picture. And lianzi is the lotus seed that we mentioned before, and hongzao and longyangyou. So all these herbs, you need to maybe soak the ingredients overnight or maybe 1 hour, just until the bits is all expanded, and mix everything with water. And after boiling, you just simmer for 20-30 minutes until everything's soft or into a texture that you like, because some people might not like the softness in these herbs. And to taste, you can add a few crystal sugar and goji berry at the end in the last 2 minutes. For goji berry, we usually don't want to cook for too long. And this is the herb I put in the cover photo because it's very pretty, the color. And this was prepared by the dispensary I work with. So when patient want herbs, raw herbs, I actually order from this dispensary, and they are quite responsible in that when they prepare the formula, they will take a photo to show me I prepared this patient formula. So that's why I get all the picture from them. And then the ingredients are ganzao, but chow form. So these are actually stir fry ganzao, so it looks a bit more darker in color. And dazao, 5 pieces. Maimendong is these small pieces here. Maiya is actually wheat. We can call it fu xiao mai, and I'll talk about it in a few slides later. And Meigui Hua is the rose buds. And it's good to use organic rose, by the way, if you can able to get from health food store. And Suan Zao Ren is here. It's very good for sleeps. And when we use it, we need to crush it. So usually the dispensary, if you go for it, they will crush for you. But if they didn't, you have to crush yourself in order for the herbal property to come out. And Sangye is this bit. So same, you put the herbs into clay pot, you add the water, usually maybe 2 centimeters above the herbs. And then if you want to have the concentrate, but if you are having as a tea throughout the day, you can pour as much as water possible. So you can drink it and reheat it when they need it. And this tea helps to relax the mind and nourish the heart, smooth the tension if the person is a stressed person and like planning and busy, usually the mom type, like tiger mom sort of personality. It works well for patients having difficulty falling asleep. And I've heard many good things from my patient. That's why I feel it's safe to recommend to you. And this herbal medicine is, I modified this formula from an ancient formula that's called Gamma Da Zao Tang. The Gamma Da Zao Tang only comprised of 3 herbs, but for the purpose to make it more encompassing more property, I put in more herbs and also make it taste nicer. It's a very nice herbs when you cannot fall asleep and you have important things coming up the next day. So this one, if you drink it maybe an hour before you sleep, it helps to calm you down. Yeah. Okay, and this another tea. Even though we say we talk about herbal soup, because some of the herbs you can also drink as tea alone, but you can also modify it into a soup if you add meat or if you add dates to make it taste nicer. It becomes a soup. But just for the purpose of helping you through the winter time, I think I'll just talk about the simple composition, but you can modify yourself. So 二至 red day tea consists of the red days we talk about. So I didn't include the picture here, but remember to remove the core. And 女贞子 is this kidney-like little beans-like thing. It's like a seed. And the 汉莲草 is actually like grass, very dry. And you cook them as tea. You can drink it throughout the day. These 2 herbs go to the kidney and liver, helps to stop bleeding. If the person have internal bleeding or they have some stomach or the lining is still healing, or if you have emerging white hair, and it's good to help to give you more of a black hair and also increase the immunity, relieve constipation and anemia. So important again, if you have, so this one is good if you have constipation. So do not use this if you already having diarrhea, because the herbs up here called 女贞子 helps to moisten the intestine, because usually the seeds in Chinese medicine helps to moisten the large intestine and make going to the toilet easier. So if you already have going to the toilet too much, maybe don't use this herb. Just use the 汉莲草 and 红枣 alone. You can drink this once or twice a week. Don't drink it every day, because there's so many things to choose from. Don't just tonify your liver and kidney all the time. As we talk about, we need to make sure our spleen and stomach is working at its optimal stage first, usually, before we tonify the kidney and liver. Okay. But if you're unsure, always check with your Chinese medicine practitioner if you're unsure whether this soup or this tea is good for you. So 山药燕麦粥 is a very good breakfast idea for the elderly patient, or if you have time to prepare, you can prepare the night before and reheat it in the morning. So 山药, you can buy the Chinese yam, the fresh one or the dry ones. So these herbs, if it's a dry form, it's good for mucosal lining repair. And we can use oatmeal because it's low in glycemic index. And optional, you can put in 红枣 again and the white fungus as well. And you just steam. I think the easy way, if you want to make it's easily digested, you can steam everything in the rice cooker, and then you can place everything into food processor to make it into smaller. So the elderly patient, they don't need to bite these things to help them to digest better. And it's also good for people that are weak or just recover from an illness. So it helps to increase their energy and appetite And it's best to drink during the springtime that we talk about, which is 9 to 11 o'clock. So I picked, I think, 4 herbs so that I can share with you what you can do with your common herbs at home. You can actually write in your notes because with your commonly used herbs, because you want to make sure you're using them right. Using the resource engine that the list of address that I've given you, you'll be able to find out all the details from the herbs. So as I did, I put down the Huang Qi is sweet, slightly warm in nature, and eternal spice, spring qi, and Wang Qi. So instantly you know that it goes to the spring, and because it's warm, so if the person is heaty, you don't give them Huang Qi. So if the person have a sore throat, you don't give them Huang Qi. Huang Qi. If the person have cold and flu symptoms, of course, you don't give them Huang Qi as well, because it's a tonic. When a person have any external pathogens inside the body, we don't give them tonics because that will further push the pathogen more inside into the body, which is again not good for the health. So these herbs use is first mentioned back in 1800 years in the TCM text. Is used as a preventative, so it reduces the frequency of common cold and help people to cope with the stress. And nowadays you can find the extracts in health food stores and even chemist warehouse as an immunity booster in capsule form. But as I said, because it's a tonic, you don't eat it during cold and fever. I'm not sure if the supplement bottle stays on the bottle, but from a Chinese medicine perspective, it's not good to have it during the cold. And do not use if you have constipation due to qi stagnation. So it's a more hard to tell whether you've got this by yourself. But if you are unsure, just check with the practitioner. And also do not use it if you have kidney inefficiency, damp heat, or toxin heat. And next one is the Fu Xiao Mai that we used in the previous colorful sleeping tea. It's helped to stop excessive sweating due to deficiency. And we use this for the calming emotions. And also for kids who bed wet, you can also use these herbs. It's sweet and salty and slightly cool, and it goes to the heart and lung meridian. Because it contains mostly wheat, so if you are a gluten intolerant person, you have to take these herbs out, unfortunately. So this herb in Song Dynasty, there was a famous practitioner. I put his Chinese name, so you can look up yourself, Wang Huayi. He saw a acute patient coming in with menopausal symptoms. He only used the 3 herbs, which was the Ganmai Da Zao Tang I talked about previously, just the 3 herbs, and the patient recovered after a few days. So he was saying 3 days of taking these herbs, the patient was all the menopausal symptoms gone. So this, even though it looks like rice or things that you can easily get from a grocery shop, but all these things can help so much to calm down the night sweating and the hot flushy symptoms that the patient had. And it's good that he's passed on the knowledge so that nowadays we can use it as well. And Sanqi is another popular herb. A lot of mainland Chinese coming into a clinic would ask us whether we got this for them, because they, from their understanding, is a herb that helps to prevent heart disease, blood clots, help to move the blood. And in Chinese, it's also called tianqi, and we usually use this in powder format. It's able to stop bleeding if you use it externally, also internally. We use it in a smaller dosage, and it can also help to lower blood pressure. So I also interested to know, I think from last year, I was told by my patient that Melbourne University in their vet clinic, they also use the patent herb that lives here in Nanbai Yao. I think some of you have this at home. This one is in tablet form, but sometimes it can be powder form or spray even. So this tablet has the ingredients of sanqi, and the first, but because this is a secret patent formula, so we don't know exactly the component. They don't disclose it in the company didn't disclose it on the package, so we don't know exactly what is the mix. But this herb is very good for puppies with cancer, helps them to calm down their symptoms. And the first use of sanqi was recorded in 1037-8 and in a book called 仙传外科秘方. The pill is called 飞龙夺命丹. It really sounds like those herbs you use in those TVB drama, where they used to help a injured person to get better straight away. But it's a really good herb to apply topically to stop bleeding. And nowadays, the wrong spelling. It's a popular supplement in China, where people would take a small dose, maybe 3 grams in water once or twice a day to help the person with their blood clots and help them to resolve any blood stasis. And this herb, lastly, is a very commonly seen herb, goji berries. I've often give my patient chrysanthemum and goji berry teas at the clinic before the COVID, because after COVID, everyone's wearing masks. It's hard to prepare tea and make everyone a bit anxious drinking at the clinic. But these herbs is good to tonify blood and in our body. It's sweet and neutral taste, and they target the liver, lung, and kidney meridian. So it's very good for those who work in front of the computer a lot, because it helps to brighten the eyes and help with sore lower back. If the patient is afraid of staring at light, it's good for that as well. And it's also good for coughing due to a deficiency. And again, because it's tonic, do not take if you have excess heat or having a fever. And because of the seed inside, do not cook for a long time, because it might affect your sleep quality. So let's go to part 3. We just briefly talking about some updates, Chinese medicine in Australia, and what is our professional associate doing at the moment, so that you know what is the banned herbs that we're trying to get it rescheduled by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. So back in last year, November, we have 4 professional association, Chinese Medicine Association. We submitted a application to TGA to allow 致附子, which is this herb on the right side, to be used for therapeutic, for health, for prescription. At the moment, we're still waiting for reply. This herb is really good to tonify the yang. So if the patient is very cold and they have a lot of back problems and cold hands and feet, and even with the sock, it doesn't make them warm. It's very good in those situations. And this herb is allowed to be used in China, and some of the practitioners even use a very large doses, and no problem was recorded. But because these herbs was found to be having some toxicity without processing, so that's why Australian government is very strict. The TGA is very strict, so this herb is banned at the moment. But because using this herb, is say we only use a very low dose. So yeah, according to the Chinese research and pharmacopoeia. So we're trying to push this through, but we will give you another update in the future seminar or on my website if something new come out of this. So the next thing we were trying to get approval from the TJ is another 3 herbs, 苦杏仁. So the 杏仁, there's 北杏仁, 南杏仁. So 苦杏仁 is banned at the moment to be used because of the active ingredients, amygdalin and HCN, which can be hydrolyzed from this amygdalin. These things are banned because they are toxic, but our professional association have argued and said that in fruits, these substances have a much higher content even. So why are we banning these 3 herbs? So, but unfortunately, the application was rejected early this year by TJ. So we couldn't use these herbs. So that's why sometimes some of the patients were asking us to purchase something for them, but we couldn't because it's no longer allowed on the market. But it's interesting, sometimes a patient would tell us they're able to get food somewhere, but we're not sure the sources. But at the moment, these herbs are banned. And let's talk about other than the raw herbs, because everyone is busy at the moment. Chinese medicine has made it easy for the patient so that patient can choose from different formats. So this left side of the herbs that we have available in the clinic, and in some dispensary they also have this available, is you can use concentrate granules, whereby the manufacturer, they cook the herbs themselves and they distracted the actual active concentrate into powder form. So it can be darker in color or lighter in color. You just drink it as coffee. So just dissolve the, I usually give patient 5 or 9 grams per day, twice a day. Just put it in hot water, like coffee, and dissolve it to drink it. And the pros is you don't need to cook and you don't have to worry about overcooked, and it's also effective and also customizable because they can be individual herbs that you can mix and match for different patients. But the cons is the taste is an issue for some people because they are sensitive to taste. Some people doesn't like bitter taste at all. So the next option this patient can pick is either the capsule form, whereby the formula is in capsule form and you take 3 capsules 3 times daily, or the pills form, which is you have to take more because it's slower response. So 8 pills 3 times daily. So all the sizes like this, as you can see in the slide. So pills on the right hand side, if you compare to raw herb, you can get this dispensary. It's actually the cheapest option, but the con is you may take longer to see effects, and it's not customizable for our patients. So we can only give the closest formula. We cannot mix and match. But the good thing is you won't taste the actual herbs. But also there's a problem if the person have a swallow issue. So it's there's so many options you can choose from. And just to explain a little bit more what's happening in Australia at the moment with the herbal medicine in high in toxicity, even though it's banned, but I heard some people were able to get it. I don't know where from. But you will remember, if it's a high toxicity herb, you will need to pre-cook it for at least 30 minutes to an hour if it's a 50 gram. gram, but if it's a higher dosage, you need to go for longer hours before you mix it with other herbs. And because of the stricter rule in Australia, especially after COVID, TGA is being more strict. Our consumers cannot order banned herbs from overseas, say from China. So at the moment, a lot of the patent herbs are banned. This includes the Lianhua Qingwen capsule, which was a very popular herbal medicine in China for respiratory disease. During COVID season last year, it was so popular. Everyone wants to get hold of these herbs, and it was not allowed for us to actually order from China. And due to the regulation in China, Australia, if patient want to get a customized script, they will need to have a consultation with us. And if they bring in a prescription from another doctor and they want us to substitute certain herb for certain thing, we cannot modify without an appointment. So the last thing I think we talked about previously when Nicholas asked the question. So just be aware there are actually people out there dispensing herbs without license. So you have to make sure you deal with the right people so that you are not taking any extra risk, because you are already trying to fix a problem. You don't want to add to yourself more problem in the future. So yeah, because other than the insurance indemnity, the other practitioner or dispensary that hasn't got a license, you cannot claim insurance if you go to have consultation with them. So for all the registered TCM practitioner, our herbal consultation are covered by your private insurance. If you have purchased extra, you can check with your provider how much you can claim. And it's part 4 already. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. But if you have any question, I think there's people leaving comment in the chat box. I will check in a moment. But please help me to fill in a feedback form. You can scan the feedback form from this QR code, or I will provide a link to this form. So if you are interested in getting the PDF of the slide today, please help me to at least fill in your name and email address and all the star ones, that what is the most helpful thing you've got from this seminar. I really appreciate your help, because that will help me to prepare my future presentation better. And also there was a question at the end, if there's any condition you would like to know, because next time I'm going to cover the acupressure point. If there's anything you want me to cover other than hay fever, I will try to incorporate to the presentation if you have time to fill this in. And I'll have a look at the question now. I could also give you a link to this questionnaire. So if you don't have any question, please help me to fill this in.